Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. Here at Financial. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth, and it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. So, everybody, as its name implies, the purpose of this channel is to push generational wealth, and it is nearly impossible to build generational wealth if you don't properly plan your estate and set up a will. So, there are a lot of YouTubers out here, and on my particular YouTube channel, I push financial literacy, obviously, and I try to teach my subscribers how to build generational wealth starting from the day you get your social security number until the day God calls you home and you die. And the best way to do that is to pass your money from one generation to another. And this is something a lot of people in our community do a terrible job of. So get a will, everyone. It's literally paramount to sustaining generational wealth. So for this particular episode, we're going to talk about, for this particular podcast, we're going to talk about estate planning and why you need to get a will. So estate planning, first and foremost, is a lot more than just getting a will. And the thing about it is, when you actually take a look at the numbers, it's kind of scary how many Americans don't have a will and they have no type of estate planning. So as it turns out, 70% of Americans do not have a will. Only 36% of Americans between the ages of 30 to 49 actually have a will. And for some reason, in the Black and the brown community, as well as with a lot of Americans, we just don't want to talk about wills. We don't want to talk about what's going to happen when we die. And we don't properly financially plan what happens when it's time for us to basically pass. And from my limited experience of working with people, they assume that basically when their grandmothers dies or when they die, or when grandpa dies or when papa dies or whatever, that the family is going to evenly distribute all the money. So for instance, if your grandmother leaves you $50,000 or whatever, and you have five relatives, people just assume that all five relatives, all five brothers and sisters are going to get $10,000 a pop. What I have noticed, however, is that there typically is at least one greedy brother or sister, one greedy aunt and uncle who assumes that they basically own everything. They should own they should own their $10,000, and they should get everyone else's $10,000. So as a result, this unfortunate, unscrupulous, selfish family member will typically take the other brothers and sisters to court, sue everybody, and then eventually everyone gets less money. And to me, it makes no sense. It's kind of like these family members are essentially, sadly, perfectly content chewing off each other's limbs. And that is the reason why. And I've seen this countless times, whether it's my family, whether it's your family, or whoever. And not to basically point fingers, but I guarantee to everyone listening to this podcast right now, you know for a fact that when whoever died, when a certain family member died, that basically family members that you had never seen ever or whatever just showed up, and these new mysterious heirs wanted a piece of papa's land or a piece of grandma's house or whatever. And it's one of those kind of things that unfortunately happens a lot more in the community, and it's very sad. It is not just among poor people either. I've seen people that are fight like cats and dogs over a house that basically is in the middle of nowhere, America, and basically it's falling apart and people still show up. But it also happens as well to the extremely wealthy. Has anyone actually heard the name Aretha Franklin? Her estate was estimated to be close to $80 million, but she never actually had a will. And bitter squabbling, unfortunately, has surfaced between the singer's four kids as well as her closest kin. So she had heirs literally showing up out of nowhere. And as a result, they are wasted literally millions of dollars basically fighting like cats and dogs over who gets her estate. And on top of that, they did find some handwritten documents. Just to keep you completely honest, they did find some handwritten documents from Aretha Franklin in regards to what she wanted, but because the letters were so illegible, and because they basically were written literally like on the back of index card, on the back of sheets of paper stuffed into a couch, a judge is basically trying to determine whether or not they are actually legal. And because this judge is trying to determine they're legal, lawyers are not cheap people. So as a result, this is all costing money. So because she did not have an actual will and she had no estate planning, millions of dollars that could be going to her family members are basically not going to them. Another gentleman I'll bring up, Prince. He died in 2016. Prince had over $160 million in his estate, but he had a family of six, basically. He's got a sister and he's got half brothers and sisters or whatever, and they fought like cats and dogs for the last 6 years. So one sister, five half siblings. And ultimately, because he did not have a will, he had no estate planning, his family has cost themselves literally tens of millions of dollars in legal fees fighting about who gets what. And as it turns out, a much smaller portion of his estate is actually going to go to the family members who he actually likes. So basically, people, this is one of those kind of things where you need to basically have a will. You need to basically figure out, okay, you need to basically come to the conclusion that at some point, God is going to call me home. At some point, you are going to die. And as a result, you need to have a will. So these are the 10 reasons why you need to have estate planning, and you also need to have a will. So first and foremost, you want to decide how your estate will be distributed, period. So the day you turn 18, in my opinion, you should get a will. Yeah, I know it sounds kind of early, and I ain't gonna lie, when I turned 18, I did not have a will. But the day you turn 18, in my opinion, you need to have a will. Why? Because first and foremost, you want to decide how your estate's gonna be distributed. Even if you're poor, if you have a car, you want to you want basically to make it very clear who gets that car. If you have a pair of Jordans or whatever, you want to make sure who gets those Jordans. If you have a signed pair of if you have Michael Jordan rookie card, you need to figure out who's gonna get that card. So basically, you need to figure out who's going to get, or where your estate's going to be distributed, and who's going to get what. Secondly, you want to decide who will take care of your children. So, for instance, I have a son. My little son is only 4 months old at the time I'm recording this. If me and my wife tragically die in a car accident, we have already decided, basically, we've already talked about who's going to be able to raise our son. And I know these are morbid conversations, and a lot of times we don't want to have these conversations, but we need to, people. So if you don't make it clear, be honest, if you do not make it clear, basically, who's going to take care of your kids, a court is going to appoint a guardian, and that guardian is going to figure out who's going to take care of your kids. And as a parent, you are the one who should be deciding where your kids are going to be raised and who's going to be raising them. Third, you want to facilitate the probate process. So probates are the legal process that wills go through in order to ensure that they are valid. So for instance, Aretha Franklin did not have a probate. The individual who basically the court basically determined would be her probate or whatever, the families pretty much don't like that individual. So that's one reason why they're fighting so much. And because she didn't have a clearly drafted probate, as a result, infighting is going on much more than it normally would. And a clearly drafted probate will silence family members that think that they deserve more money than they actually do, and it settles the disputes early. Next, it minimizes estate taxes. So when you properly plan your will and you properly plan your estate and everything, the drafting for that is going to allow you to explore different types of estate planning and different types of tools that minimize your estate taxes. Secondly, you are also going to be able to quickly explore legal ways to reduce your inheritance taxes. So quite frankly, people, to keep it a buck, if you basically have a will, you basically properly do your estate taxes and everything, you properly do your estate planning, you are going to pay less taxes or whatever. And the people, your beneficiaries, your kids, your daughter, your sons, your aunts or uncles, whoever you want to get the money to, they are going to pay significantly less money legally in taxes. So fifth, let's go down the line. The fifth reason why you need to have estate planning, you need to have a will. You decide who's going to administer your estate. So the person who administers your estate should be known as your personal representative, and that person is going to decide or whatever. You get to decide pretty much who that person is going to be. If you do not decide who your administrator of your estate is going to be, the court's going to get the person, and the person they get may not be an individual that sees it the way that you see it. So whoever it is that I will say this, so full disclosure, whoever it is that you basically decide to administer your estate, make sure this person is tough enough to say no to a greedy family or a selfish family member who wants more money. Also, it may be a good idea to select someone who's not necessarily a friend or a relative of the family. And the reason why I say that is because it's a lot harder to tell your aunt who basically used to change your diaper, no, you're not getting any more money. Or it's a lot harder to tell a family member who used to take you fishing, no, you're not getting any more money. Whereas if a person is an outsider and they basically are competent and the family knows them, but it's not necessarily blood, it's a little bit easier to do that. But that's kind of more so something you have to decide. Sixth, one of the best reasons about having a will, and we all have seen this one of the best reasons about having a will, and one of the best reasons about having properly estate planning, is that it allows you to disinherit individuals that you do not want to receive your money or your property. Now, this is maybe a very hard subject to broach, but I'm just gonna flat out say it. We all have family members. We all have people that we know of, basically, who the day grandma dies or the day papa dies or the day whoever dies, they're just gonna show up and make it seem like they were the closest thing possible to Uncle Ted or Aunt Jamie or whoever. We've all seen this before, unfortunately. If you do not have a will and you do not properly plan your estate planning or whatever, the court is going to decide basically who gets what. In English, people, this means that selfish, greedy family members that you do not like will have access to a much larger pool of your money and your resources than you would like them to have. So one of the main reasons that you need to have a will, you need to have estate plans, is if you do not want these selfish leeches for family members that we all, unfortunately, some of us have or whatever. I'm not talking about myself, but I know we all know people. We all know somebody who knows somebody or whatever that has leeches in their family. If you do not have a will, pretty much, these individuals are going to show up and suck the family dry when it comes to legal fees. And a will and proper estate planning provides you the opportunity for you to give more of your money and your resources that you spent your entire life building only to the beneficiaries and only to the family members that you decide needs to get it. So let's keep it moving. Oh yeah, by the way, people, please like, please comment, please share this video, and please subscribe to it, okay? Because it helps the algorithm. Next, number 7, about why you need to have proper estate planning and why you need to have a will. It makes your gifts and your donations much easier to do. So for instance, you can give large donations to organizations that you particularly like and that you really like. So an example, Madam CJ Walker, she gave nearly, if you're not familiar who she was the first self-made millionaire female in the country. She basically had beautician products. She grew up picking cotton, and she died a millionaire. She was the first self-made woman millionaire in the United States. So Madam C.J. Walker, because she came in the born in the 1800s or whatever, and she died in 1950, she gave over $100,000 to politicians that supported anti-lynching laws in the Jim Crow South. She became after she became an entrepreneur and a mogul. She basically started getting more involved with politics as far as helping the African American community. So as a result, that was one of her things. I myself, obviously, I've said on other podcasts that I've done, I'm a mechanical engineer. Well, I've decided to give a certain percentage of my inheritance to the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE, because NSBE saved my engineering career. One of my years in college, I thought about honestly transferring out of engineering for a variety of stressful reasons that I was under. But I went to a NSBE national convention, and it literally saved my engineering career. When I saw 20,000 Black people that had engineering degrees, I was like, why am I going to quit? So there's a certain percentage of my money I'm giving as a gift and a donation to the National Society of Black Engineers. So when you have a will and you properly do your estate planning, it allows you to make gifts and donations to the people that you want to make it to. And another thing, guys, I'm gonna be completely transparent. When you give large gifts and donations, it also legally lowers your estate taxes or whatever. So by giving in donations, it actually lowers your taxes for your estate taxes for your beneficiaries. Next, number 8, you can remember I said basically that you should start a will at 18. Well, you can always update your will. So in my opinion, when you have milestones in your life, for instance, when you get married, if you get divorced, unfortunately, whenever you start a business or whatever, if you have more kids, you should basically start a will. Right now I have one son. When I have my next one or I have my next kids or whatever, we're going to update the will. So with the will, is not necessarily etched in stone. Once you get a will, you can actually update it, and you should be updating it, because let's face it, you should be making more money at 30 than you were making at 20. You should be more successful at 40 than you were at 30. And God willing, you should have more kids at 30 than you do at 20. So that's another reason why you need to have a will. You need to do, and you need to do your estate planning. Next, you avoid legal challenges. So as I said earlier, all of us literally have heard horror stories about lazy, greedy, selfish family members and relatives fighting like cats and dogs when a family member dies. It's an unfortunate, sad state of affairs. I've seen it with people that are very poor. I've seen it with people that are very rich. So wills and estate planning, they end all that nonsense, all of it. Once again, this needs to be a legally drafted will, by the way. It should not be a sheet of paper that you scrawl. It should not be notes that you scrawl on a sheet of paper and you stuff inside your couch. That's unfortunately what Aretha Franklin did. And as a result, instead of her family getting the $80 million, properly dividing it up, right now they're literally suing each other like cats and dogs or whatever in a courtroom, trying to fight over who gets what. So this needs to be a legally drafted document that gets signed by an attorney and gets reviewed by a judge. And you want to basically make sure that a 7 or 8-year-old can read this. If you read our will or whatever, the will that me and my wife have, a 7-year-old literally could read that will and say, okay, this is where the stuff is going. And the last reason why I say that everyone needs a will, you need to have estate planning. Let's keep it completely honest, everybody. Tomorrow is not promised. I mean, at the end of the day, people, all of us are going to die. It may be a morbid statement, it may be whatever, but at the end of the day, people, for the most part, all of us are going to die, period. So, and as a result, you need to plan your life accordingly so that in the untimely event that it happens prematurely, everything in your life is taken care of, and the people that you love are going to basically get the assets that you want to give them. On this channel, everybody, I talk about building generational wealth. I talk about financial literacy, and you do not want your wealth to get sent to lawyers because your children and your family members who you don't like are fighting with the family members who you do like over money that they do not deserve. Your will and your estate planning, regardless of how complex, poor, or wealthy your estate is, should be so easy that, once again, a 7 or 8-year-old can follow it. And if you really hate your family members, people, and I'm not trying to be morbid, I'm not trying to be sad, but if you really hate your children and you really do not like your family members, then don't get a will. The last thing, guys, I want to talk about is don't make these mistakes when it comes to having a will, and don't make these mistakes in regards to estate planning. So a lot of people, as I said earlier, don't like the conversation because it's a little morbid. When you're talking about when you're gonna be dead, who cares? Get a will anyway. Get your estate planning in order. Just because you're poor, don't make this mistake either. Some people think just because they're poor, all they own basically is a car and a couple clothes, that they don't need a will. It's nonsense. Get a will and get estate planning. If you prepare yourself now, people, when the day comes as a family, you can get through them, and it's a lot easier to get through those times if you properly have a will and you properly do your estate planning. And once again, don't wait for somebody to get sick. Don't wait for Papa to get dementia. Don't basically wait for somebody to die and then try to get the will. If you try to do it there, or to try to do your estate planning, if you wait until somebody is sick or they're dying, you wait too late, people. And don't think, once again, just because you're single, I don't need a will on an estate plan. Remember, you can always change your will. So my advice is, at 18 years old, you need to go to www.legalzoom.com or go to basically legalshield.com and get a will. Do not assume, also, people, for all my married folks out there, I talked about the single people first, don't assume that your spouse or your beneficiary automatically gets everything and they automatically get access to your money. A lot of times with single people, I know I did this, I had family members that brothers or whatever that basically were on my 401ks and on my mutual funds. But when I got married, I basically had to kind of transfer that over to my wife. So when you get married, people, don't just automatically assume that basically your spouse is going to get your money. Make sure that the right beneficiary is there. Also, make sure that your estate plan and your will is complete, it's comprehensive, it's easy to follow. Make sure as well, people, that your will is the same way, and make sure that you have a licensed attorney that specializes in estate planning to review your real estate plan. I'm gonna say that again. Make sure that you have a licensed attorney that specializes in estate planning to review your estate plan, and make sure that you have a judge basically review. Make sure that a judge certifies your will or whatever after you get it crafted. So the last thing I'll talk about as well, people, is how to create a will. I said this a little earlier. Go to www.legalzoom.com to set one up. That's the easy way to do it. You can go to Legal Shield. They do it as well. And people, don't play with this situation, okay? Don't play with this matter. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. As I said earlier, on my YouTube channel, I push financial literacy. I teach my subscribers how to build generational wealth, starting from the day that they get their social security number, in regards to custodial accounts, in regards to 529 college savings accounts, in regards to 401ks. I teach you how to do all that stuff from the day pretty much that you get your social security number, you're born, to the day that you die, as far as how to build your generational wealth with your estate and your wealth planning. And I do that because you should basically essentially be trying to build wealth literally every second that you're on your planet. And when you die, you need to make sure that the hard work that you did, the 80-90 hour weeks that you pulled, the business that you started, the retirement accounts that you created, you need to make sure that that money gets bequeathed to the individuals who you want it to go to. Why? Because you worked your little balls off, you worked your behind off to get that. And you need to make sure that they get it, okay? And not anyone else who doesn't deserve it. So with that, everybody, it's your boy Chris. Please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel. It helps with the algorithm. I know this is kind of somewhat of a morbid subject on this one, but guys, let's keep it completely honest. If you're born, you're gonna die. And if you die, you need to make sure that the right people are getting the things that you worked your entire life on. Where there's a will, there's a way, people. You need to have a will. And you also basically need to make sure that your estate planning is on point and that it's set up. Take it easy, everybody. It's your boy Chris, and I'm out. Peace.